Hi everyone, BC Richfield here on behalf of BrightFunded. Let's take a look at our weekly review. So let's take a look at this week's red folder news. We can see that we've got news affecting Canadian, Great Britain, New Zealand, European and US markets. My focus this week, however, is going to be on the FOMC minutes. We often see the volatility that injects into the market. We've got that on Wednesday, May the 22nd, followed up personally by looking at flash manufacturing and flash services PMI, which is going to affect the US markets on May the 23rd. So let's take a look at the markets. And this week, our focus is going to be on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Euro USD, USD JPY, gold, and we're going to take a look at the NASDAQ as well. Starting here on the weekly with Bitcoin, we can see it struggles to overcome its previous all-time high around 69,000. Now, we've retained bullish market structure here, and while we've seen an early stage rejection here, a deviation followed by a move lower, price has found support in this gap and has actually had a nice bullish reaction since. We can see we've got the level here about 67,278 that's currently capping price. We want to see a strong close above that for price to start to move higher. But as it stands, price has come up, and this is looking to be setting the higher low, as price moves further up. Now, moving this onto a daily and aligning that with our narrative, we can see that price has regained market structure here. So it has now gone bullish. We came down here, had the lower low, set the high, higher low, and now price has pushed up. We've had some nice displacement through this level, leaving this gap, which we could see return to. Ultimately, while we're bullish here, then we don't want to fade this asset. We're looking for price to establish itself over the previous all-time high at 69,000 and possibly move a little higher, especially if the DXY behaves and we see a risk on environment respected. So as we move across now onto Ethereum, we can see a similar situation. Now, we've got the level here, which is capping the market in a similar way to what we saw on Bitcoin. So we've got 3581 flat for that. Now we can see once again how price came into this level on a weekly scale, deviated, got back underneath, and has again, similar to Bitcoin, found support in this gap. So bulls here will want to see some momentum build for this to be set in and confirmed as the higher low, for market structures to remain intact and for price to move higher. Any close below here could be a sign that price is looking for acceptance and liquidity lower down. Looking at this on the daily, now we can see that we've had a structure shift to the upside here. We haven't actually had a full break yet. However, something that I'm keeping my eye on here is this gap. With this holding, I think we start to make a move on these untapped highs above. And again, ultimately looking to establish itself over 3581. Any closes below this on a daily scale, and we could be looking to seek liquidity lower down and a move deeper into this gap. So now moving across to Euro USD, we can see this on a weekly scale. And the purple box that I've got highlighted here is the fair value gap. On a bearish day, we'd expect this to offer resistance. Okay, price had a strong close through this, inverting it, meaning it's an area we now look to form as support. Price has moved up and taken the internal high here, and this is the level that's currentently capping the market. Bulls will want to see a strong close above this, and these liquidity targets at 1.09812 and 1.11393 attacked before we look for the major swing higher above. Moving this onto a daily, we can see how prices kind of hold under this level here, and we can see how price, shown by the long downside wick here on the daily, has drawn in and now moving higher. Again, I would be looking for this to hold and for price to continue, as we can see setting higher highs and higher lows. We're in a nice bullish market structure. Moving over to USD JPY, and this is very interesting for me here on a weekly scale. So again, we've got a nice bullish structure here. We can see how price is respecting the gaps, displacing above them. Now, one thing that we've got here is the mother bar, okay, which is part of our inside bar pattern. An inside bar pattern is made up of a large candle such as this one when the secondary candle closes within the range of the first candle. This first candle's high and low become the mother bar higher and the mother bar low. The secondary candle becomes the inside bar high and low. We would treat these like we would treat any other range. So initially seeing this rejection here, expect price to travel down. We look to the equilibrium of either range. A close back above here, however, would be seen as strength and would be looking for continuation up to the mother bar higher. Should price close back within the low, then I'd be looking further down to the inside bar low and mother bar low here, and also to this fair value gap that was rebalanced here but wasn't closed below. So this area should be one we consider to look for as support. Now, backing that up here on a daily basis, and we can see that after the deviation above the inside bar high here, price found initial rejection here at the bearish gap. Now, price to close above this would then align itself with our higher time frame bias that if we show that strength closing back outside of this range, then we have clearly marked liquidity targets higher up. We'll have a little look at this internal high here, but ultimately, if we've come down in here, found support, set this as the higher low, a break of this higher shifting structure would add confidence to our theory that price is looking to move higher. Again, should we accept the rejection here, I would expect price to be seeking liquidity a little bit lower down. Now moving on to gold. On a weekly scale, again, we can see price has come, it's taken out this high, which is currently capping the market. We've not seen the strongest rejection so far. We do need to remember that this is obviously on a weekly scale. One other thing of interest here is how we've set the order block coming off, and we just make that slightly thicker so that stands out. Closing above here was a good sign to us that price would continue into this high. And now as this week has started, it's natural to see a rejection at these key highs and lows. We need to see if price establishes strength. Again, we're in a nice market structure here, higher highs and higher lows. So let's take a look at the daily to give ourselves some more context. So one thing that's showing a bit of strength here is this bearish gap. We saw reject price here, have an initial rejection here, has now been closed above over here, inverting it, meaning again, we would look to this area to form some kind of support. Now, on the daily close today, I'll be watching with keen interest to see if we leave a gap below, which could really sort of set us up for price to have an initial rejection and retrace into this before making moves higher. Once again, if we do get this gap and we do close below it, it would be a sign of weakness, and therefore we can look to the liquidity targets lower down. Now, to finish up, we're going to take a look at the NASDAQ. Okay, I've got the NQ1 contract up here. And this, again, similar to the other markets we've looked at the moment, we can see the nice sweep of the low here. Price really had that strong correction down, cleared out liquidity, reacted again, as we'll see in a moment from further up here. We had this nice reaction of this bullish gap, and that catalyzed the move higher towards the swing high. Now, we've seen an initial rejection here, but it was after a nice bullish close, leaving us this gap. So what I'll be looking for here is for either price to close and establish itself above this level, or to see this corrective move down, and then potentially setting us up for a move higher. Should we close below this level, however, we need to be aware we've got a very small gap down here, but price could be seeking liquidity lower. And for that, we've got the swing low down here at 17,113.25. So if we want to look at that on a daily scale to just give ourselves a touch more context, then we can see how price has already had this nice bullish reaction off of this gap. Again, we've taken this local high, so now we're either looking for price to close and establish itself above there. You know, you could see this as a deviation if price climbs back below. If we start closing below this gap here, we've got a very small one here, but the expectation from me would be for price to start moving towards this lower 18,165.5. So that wraps up our weekly review. Do remember to keep an eye on the red folder news this week, and we look forward to seeing you over with us soon at BrightFunded.